love will lead you home. We're going to take this time for our meditation, I think, right? That's why we had the meditation song. So just take this moment to feel the song that we just sang. The love, the joy, the light, the grace. Grace is that prayer energy that is surrounding us always. And when we just can't quite get there, when life overwhelms, grace, prayer energy is always there. The power and presence of that one love, whole, complete, ever present. Breathe that into your heart space. Drop down into your heart and feel that living, loving energy. Whatever name we call it, it is eternal, and you are the beloved. We connect our highest thoughts of life with our deepest, deepest faith. As we walk out into this world of form, knowing that what's true, what's lasting, what's real is right inside us, always and in all ways. Let's take a few moments in the silence to feel that movement of spirit, to hear the soft whispers of prayer that are everywhere present and flowing in and through you as you right here and right now. You are wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness, of love, of peace in the silence. In the silence, we feel God present. Even if our minds are busy, that all-pervading presence of love is right here and right now. Take a nice deep breath. As we come back, we open our outer eyes and keep our inner eyes open as well. And so it is. Amen. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. I just have been, I am just overwhelmed with, like I said, this church, the energy, the love that radiates. I got here Thursday evening, and it's just been this love fest ever since. I've been taken on tours of your wonderful city and had wonderful meals and fellowship. And I think I started to say that I got to meet with ministry leaders, which is just about every other person in here. I took 2.5, 3 pages of notes because it's so exciting. And then they're like, oh yeah, and this and this. So I'm in awe of all of you and so grateful to be here. Yesterday, some of you might have been here for the Power of Prayer workshop. And I'm used to doing like half-day retreats and workshops. And I thought I had it timed, but so I didn't get to share everything I wanted to, but I think we had fun. Yeah? Anybody was here? I wasn't fishing. But it was on the power of prayer, and I subtitled it, Prayer is the World's Most Reliable Wireless Network. And somebody gave me that on a t-shirt once, a long time ago. And, when you're doing these kinds of things, Spirit just kind of shows up in different places. And it's like, so what am I going to talk about? Oh, because, like I said earlier, prayer is everywhere present. It's this energy stream that's always running. And that's how we can step into grace. And that's how we can, know that we're one. So it's boundless. It's boundless. And sometimes we think we say our prayers and then that's kind of it. You got to say another. Well, you do. We pray constantly, but there's somebody. You know how they say that saying it's 5 o'clock somewhere? Well, it's somebody is always praying all the time, and I guarantee you Silent Unity is. Silent Unity is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and no vacations. We do let people, I would be over there, and they did let me leave the building sometimes, but 24 hours a day with these amazing people. So today I wanted to talk about our prayers in action, because we can sit and pray and meditate all day, and we have to, in religious science, it's called spiritual mind treatment, prayer is, and the saying is we treat and move our feet, right? We pray and put it into action. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. So, looking for that inspiration of today, and I know how to do PowerPoint and all that. I think there might be a few quotes up here, but this is my low-tech inspiration. This has been, did everybody see it? Oh, Well, this is my low-tech version, because this was on my bulletin board, and when I was praying about being here, I looked up and said, oh, it's been on my bulletin board for a couple of years. So I wanted to share with you today about your superpowers. Now, this isn't to be confused with the 12 Powers by Fillmore, but it's a spark from that. So, we have the power of love, the power of power, of imagination, of wisdom. And so this kind of takes it out, in my humble opinion, out into the world. It's walking and talking our prayers. So I wanted to start with, if you're familiar with Hafiz, the Sufi poet. I knew you guys would be. This is from The Gift by Daniel Leninsky, translated by. So, is it up there? Oh, no. It's okay. It doesn't have to be. Just breathe in this for a minute. It felt love. How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all its beauty. It felt the encouragement of light against its being. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened. I get goosebumps when I read that. Thank you, Hafiz, wherever you are. The light of God shines through us, from us, and as us. And our superpowers are shining that light on each other. That's we turn our heart light on, and we're shining it on each other, so we're not so very frightened in this world. And the descriptors of the superpowers are just ways to, again, to expand our spiritual understanding of prayer and action. So, the first and most important superpower is kindness. And again, I don't have to tell you guys what that is, but, we'll talk about it anyway. And the second one is gratitude or appreciation. Gratitude and appreciation, they have a little different energy. Their appreciation is kind of a higher vibration of energy, but our energy of gratitude is very strong too. So they go together. And then deep listening. So we're going to just kind of rev up the 12 powers a little bit and see where they connect and how we put them out into the world. So in unity, like I said, you guys know this stuff. When we refer to God, we're talking about an energy, not an entity. It's an action verb, not a noun. Do you ever think of God as a verb in action? A living, loving energy of love that's everywhere present. And so, the greatest human superpower there's that too. It's been so whenever I say superpower, that's what I mean. It's simple and non-fussy. It's authentic kindness. Mother Teresa says that, she's the mother of kindness, that, whatever it says up there. No, that's the wrong one, but that's okay. That's coming later. It's not his fault, it's mine. Because I said, let's not use the PowerPoint. Oh, yeah, okay, we can. So it might not be completely congruent, but it's all good. So she said, kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. Truly endless. Oh, a friend of mine from Hawaii said, it's like people are in your wake of your words. Of course, she's from Hawaii. She would say that, right? The ocean whole thing. So, I have a question. Who likes to go to the dentist? I see no hands. My hand wouldn't go up. But where I learned how to truly serve, and really was my life of service, started at age 19 in the dental office as a dental assistant. And I was blessed enough to be under the tutelage of not only a brilliant dentist he was good. When I moved out of Ohio, I went back home to get my dental work done after. But I worked for him for 7 years, and then when I moved back, I worked for 10 years altogether. But he was not only a talented dentist, but he was a master at kindness, at putting people at ease. It was important to us as a team that people felt that they were heard. Because, it's all about being frightened. People come in, I hate being here. We didn't take it personally. We knew they didn't hate us, but it was that energy of fear. And he had a saying. He said, the least lovable people need loving the most. And there's no less lovable of a person who's hard to love when they're in deep fear, right? Now, this doesn't mean you go hang out with people who are just ugly all the time, right? who have so much fear and so much, so many layers over their heart, you don't have to, that's the cool thing about prayer, right? You can pray at a distance. But in the dental office, we're right, here. And so that was our guiding light, really, in that office. So many times people left when they could smile because they weren't too numb. They'd give us a smile, or they'd say, that wasn't so bad. And we knew that it was how people felt that made the difference when they left. People remember how you make them feel more than anything you can say or do. Kindness in a word or a deed really fosters that feeling. Oh, I'm not so frightened. Oh, I'm not such a bad person after all. And that's where you get to accept kindness as well as give it. Like Mother Teresa said, their echoes are truly endless. Now, I found a quote on Google. Oh, we love Google. Ah, kindness. What a simple way to tell another struggling soul that there is love to be found in this world. Yeah. Spirituality is really very simple. It really is. We like to make it complex because we like to think about things, and that's not bad. But when we come down to it, I like to give it a kiss. Keep it spiritually simple. Keep it spiritually simple. And so that brings me to Dalai Lama's quote that you already saw. and we've probably all heard this quote, but my religion is simple. My religion is kindness. And and there's the power of prayer there, buzzing in the... my religion is simple. My religion is kindness, and it is truly that simple. This quote by Gandhi, this surprised me a bit. I had to pray with this one. The simplest acts of kindness are by far more powerful than 1,000 heads bowing in prayer. Wow. Breathe that in for a minute. How does that feel? The simplest acts of kindness are by far the more powerful than 1,000 heads bowed in prayer. Yeah, kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Just by that simple act. And we're not talking about sympathy, right? We're not talking about, oh, poor you. We're talking about, and not even maybe cheering somebody up. We can be having a perfectly good day, and somebody just does something or says something or looks at you and smiles, and it can shift the energy in the room. It can shift the energy in their life for that day. Because we don't know what people have gone through, are going through. We don't know why somebody's rude or cuts us off in traffic, what's going on in their life. And the same for ourselves. We don't know, so we have to be kind to ourselves as well. So keep your heart light shining, and like I said, you're not looking to cheer up somebody. You're just looking for those simple words, those simple acts of kindness. And of course, there's times when people need a lot of physical and emotional help, kindness like that. But this is just our everyday prayer and action kind of thing. So know that you are worthy and you are loved and can have as much kindness shown to you as you are open to receive. You are the beloved. Please don't forget that. You are the beloved. So that brings us to superpower number 2, gratitude. We love gratitude, don't we? We're grateful for gratitude, that we're aware of it. We're all taught thank you, to say please and thank you when we're kids, at school, at home. And it's like, mind your manners. Did you ever hear that? You say, please pass the potatoes. Thank you for passing the potatoes. I did that for my daughter because she loves potatoes. It's proper and good training for children. And as they get older, it's really good to let them know why. Because that attitude and energy of gratitude and appreciation raises our spirits and our energy. And that's another place that peace begins, right? And really looking up and looking around at life in your own life and in the lives around you and say, wow, in awe of life. I do that when I go outside and especially here in Madison, goodness gracious, the energy of nature, all of that. There's so many things we can be grateful for. And when you can't feel it, there's always somebody that'll help you. And we have grace, right? But just like kindness, the intention behind your thank yous bring meaning and light into your words. Just being polite because we should, I mean, it's better than not saying anything, right? But it can be transformed into a superpower when you stay awake and aware of why we're grateful. That power and energy, that flow of life and love, that comes from our gratitude, right? So we don't ignore the things that aren't going well in our life, though. You know, we don't just cover, could I say this? We don't just cover poo with sugar, right? And there's another word I could have used, but I didn't. Got it? You know, like that Superpower thing. So in our truth studies and as truth students, we don't just try to cover it up. We go deep into it and say, what's happening here? What's happening? I got a diagnosis of cancer a couple of years ago. That's too many of you probably have experienced that. Turns the life upside down and you start questioning. I started questioning everything and I've been studying and practicing truth principles. What's wrong? God, you know, everywhere. Then I could be grateful once I looked up and looked around, and I'm cancer-free, by the way, for 2 years, so it's all good. Yeah, thank you. It's all good, but boy, it took me to a dark night of the soul. It absolutely did. And I was grateful for the friends that I had that could lift me up in prayer when I couldn't. For Silent Unity, for everyone, you're never alone. You're never alone in spirit and in truth, but sometimes we just need somebody to hold our hand, you know, and say, I'm grateful for you and for you letting me into this experience, that we can do this together. Living with our eyes wide open and our heart wide open is a conscious intention. It's a choice. It's a practice. It's a habit. It's a habit. We share our human dramas and our joys, and we laugh and we celebrate and we weep and we mourn together because we're all in this life together. We're all in this life together. And I see that so beautifully here in this. I keep bragging on you guys, but I can't help it. It's alive here. Life's easier to cope with when we cultivate that attitude of gratitude. We build a foundation of faith when we develop our spiritual practices, meditation, prayer, kindness, gratitude, deep listening that we'll talk about in a sec. We can fall back into the arms of God and just say, thank you. Just hold me. Just hold me. And then you're wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness and love. When we let go and allow Spirit to move through us, when we take off some of the filters and open our hearts. So our third superpower is deep listening. Deep listening to spirit, deep listening to people in your life. And like all superpowers, you need to use them for good. And I always told my kids, I'm so grateful that I found this New Thought movement before I even had children, but then I raised them in between religious science and unity for the last 23 years. And so I'm just so grateful for that. And none of them are real churchgoers, maybe my daughter, but I could look at them and say, use your powers for good. And they knew what I was talking about, you know? I'd say, before they'd leave on whatever, after they were getting their driver's license, and I was trying not to be a nervous, scared mother. I have 3 kids. I'd say, pay attention instead of be careful. So our parting little prayer when we leave the house, pay attention, have fun, I love you. Pay attention, have fun, I love you. And it really, my dad was just, he would say, be careful, be careful. Mom had to bring him in when we were outside in the yard playing because he was afraid we were going to fall off the swing set. He was so overprotective because he was brought up with the rumble tumble of 5 boys on a farm. I don't think he ever felt safe, you know? So he wanted to be sure we were safe. And my sweet daddy. So deep listening, you need to use them for your good. So I kind of got off track there, but not really. So what's it mean? It means to listen more than you talk. Oh, now, for you introverts out there, you love this because introverts are the best listeners ever. I have 2 children who are introverts of the 3. Lovely. Now that they're adults, you know. So for us extroverts who have, you know, oh so much that we need to say, it can be a little bit of a challenge. Those poor kids. So really listening means, and I have to read this because I have to, you know, really listening means not trying to think about your response, right? But solely focus on what is being said by the other person or by spirit in your prayer and meditation time. Not saying, okay, anytime now, God, you know, anytime. Listen with your heart and mind open and be willing to consider other points of view. Ouch, we have to do that too. To consider other points of view or really hear their story. We all just want to be heard, really heard. Don't we? Cultivate the practice of speaking so others want to listen, and listening so others love to speak with you. Do you like that? Cultivate the practice of speaking so others want to listen, and listening so others love to speak with you. So some final thoughts about your superpowers. Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, friends, I think that's a huge part of what's happening in our inner and our outer world of conflict. We got to love ourselves before we can get it all great with our neighbors. Don't we? We have to love your neighbor as yourself. That sounds just so nice. But if we're having war inside ourselves, if we're not being kind, if we're not being grateful to ourselves for all that we do, all of you, we're grateful for all that you do. Be grateful to yourself and listen deeply to spirit and others. Peace begins with each one of us. We sing that song every Sunday, right? It really, really does. So if we really love the teaching, I love Jesus' teachings, and that one has always stuck with me. It's like, yikes, I got to start here first. So, and here's the other piece of your superpowers. Please don't should all over yourself. Okay? I'm sure you've heard that before. I should have thanked that person. I should have listened to my son's story instead of answering the phone. I was in a bad mood and I took it out on the people around me. Oh God, I should be kinder. I should listen better. I should be more grateful. I just should. But even our dear founder, Myrtle Fillmore, did that too. She would say, what's wrong with my prayers? And Spirit said, you looked upon your faults, now look upon your virtues. Yeah? Yeah. Keep in mind, this message is only a test. No. This message is only about developing a habit and practicing it. Not about being perfect. We're human. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and we mess up. But what does that even mean? It takes us in another direction. It takes us in another direction. So here's the remedy for the shoulds from the dear Buddhist nun, Pema Chodron. Be kinder to yourself, and then let your kindness flood the world. Let your kindness flood the world. So as we close this morning, I invite you to use your superpowers to bring good into your life and the lives of those around you. Be kind. Affirm that you are a person who brings, hear this, you are a person who brings warmth and kindness to self and others with no expectation in return. That's who you are. I know this. Be grateful. Affirm that you are a person who looks up and around at life and is grateful for all of it. Listen deeply. Affirm that you are a person who listens to understand and not to reply. And then go out in the world and unleash your bright light and your own superpowers. You will be amazed at the light that returns to you. Now I have one more, our parting prayer this morning, the end of my turn up here, is another Hafiz, a Hafiz poem. And so just take this in. Just breathe. Just talked a lot. Now is the time to know that all that you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truce with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just a child's training wheels to be laid aside when you can finally live with veracity and love. You are a divine envoy whom the beloved has written its holy message upon. My dear, please tell me why you still throw sticks at your heart and at God. What is it in that sweet voice inside that incites you to fear? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. This is the time for you to deeply compute the impossibility that there's anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. You are the beloved. Thank you. Amen and amen. Now what do we do? Oh. You can stand there and cheer if you want.
Thank you.